All right, so let us go ahead and start, everyone. Welcome to this Clubhouse event. Your energy, your health, be responsible, take action. And Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. And I would like to start by raising the vibration of the space that we're in now by calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the truth to come forward into our discussion so that the truth can be seen, heard, and spoken, and that we all be in that frequency of truth, calling for the highest possible vibration. All right, everyone, I'd like for everyone to take a deep breath in. 3, 2, 1. And let it all out. 3, 2, 1. Now take another deep breath in, bringing in peace, joy, and gratitude. And exhale out, releasing all stress and worry, all that does not serve you. And Lakesh and Veritas, everyone, I call for the oneness and truth of the information shared by each and every one of us on this call, calling in the frequency of truth so that we all can experience all that is of the truth as it is in as our purpose to bring forward the truth so that we all can benefit from this information shared with honor, respect, and gratitude. For those who are, well, greetings. Lakesh and Veritas is a declaration in which we are cleansing, clearing, and uplifting the space we're in so that we can maintain a truthful, elevated, and enlightened discussion. It is a powerful declaration and brings in clarity and a greater understanding for everyone. It is a way of clearing away those thoughts that we tend to pick up and carry with us from our everyday life experiences, thoughts that do not serve us. Those life experiences of disharmony that creates a frequency of panic and stress. Our words have power, so let us remember and decide to use our words carefully, using words of upliftment, encouragement, enlightenment. By doing so, we will help to transform our spaces and places to its highest energetic frequency. So, Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. I would like for everyone to now take a sip of water, as we are 70% water, and water will hold the information and memory that is being shared this evening. And a quick reminder, a recording of this Clubhouse event will be available on our YouTube channel, Lakesh Studios, so please remember to subscribe and keep up to date with the new content that is continuously being added. Just go to Lakesh Studios on the YouTube channel, on YouTube, to locate us and subscribe. Okay, I wanted to bring up a topic today. Topic is medicine, medical systems. Does anyone know how our current medical system came to what it is today? Our westernized health today. Does anybody know how that's happened? How it occurred? So a few weeks ago, I gave a friend of mine, or a client and friend asked me this question, and I gave them an answer, which helped to give them a greater understanding of how westernized medicine came about. But I decided to go in a little deeper and do some more research about this, and I'd like to share this with you all. So the existing medical schools and medical institutions that exist today in our country are organizations that were initially supported by two men, John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. So John D. Rockefeller was considered the wealthiest man in America, controlling 90%. He's one of the wealthiest. I'm not sure if he's not necessarily the wealthiest now, but at the time he was the wealthiest man in America, controlling 90% of the oil refineries in the US by the early 1900s through ownership of major oil companies as we know them today as Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron. So during this time, there were many different health practitioners practicing many different modalities, with almost one half of the medical colleges and doctors practicing holistic medicine, using the extensive knowledge from Europe, Native America, and even Asia. So Rockefeller saw an opportunity, and he was already using oil. He said, well, so let's just create chemicals for human use. So he teamed up with Andrew Carnegie and started funding medical schools all over America on the strict condition that they would only teach allopathic medicine. And a smear campaign was then launched, demonizing holistic type medicine and practices in the newspaper, discrediting all practices that did not follow the allopathic approach. Some doctors were even jailed for using natural medical treatments, including treatments that had been used safely and effectively for decades. And to help with the transition and to change the minds of other doctors and scientists, Rockefeller gave more than $100 million to colleges and hospitals. And he was able to systematically dismantle the previous curricula of these medical schools, removing any mention of the healing power of herbs or natural treatments. So the teachings on diets and other natural medicines, the non-drug treatments, were completely removed from medical programs. And to eliminate the competition, Rockefeller hired a contractor named Abraham Flexner, who submitted a report called the Flexner Report to Congress in 1910. And this report concluded that there were too many medical doctors and medical schools in America, and that all natural healing modalities, which had existed for hundreds of years, were unscientific and quackery. The report called for the standardization of medical education, which we now refer to as under the American Medical Association, which would allow to grant selected medical schools licensure in the United States. So the Flexner Report was used as a tool to discredit all other forms of medical practices except for allopathy, which was then used, which then eventually dominated Western medicine and big pharma. So before this time in the 1800s, society approved and supported both approaches of healing. People had their choice. People had a choice of either using doctors called allopaths or natural healers, which they at the time called them empirics or homeopaths. And the allopathic doctors approach was more of like a heroic medicine that they believed that these physicians must aggressively, that's their thought, aggressively remove disease from the body. And they considered it a more scientific theory. And what they did was there were three main techniques that they focused on, and that's bleeding the body to drain out the bad humus or whatever the disease. They gave huge doses of toxic minerals like mercury and lead to displace the original disease, and they used surgery, but it was a brutal procedure, and this was before anesthesia and infection control, so you can imagine the outcomes of that. And so people in the patients, they were not willing to go that route because it was just so aggressive. So just so that you know, the principles of allopathic medicine was based on a German prototype and a specific approach that was reported by Flexner in his report. And do you know, just so that you know, an aside, do you know who founded the American Cancer Society? Anyone?
I'm going to take a guess here and say one of the rich gentlemen that you mentioned earlier.
If you name it, John D. John D.
Ding 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 ding.
Oh gosh. So they also tried to monopolize China and replace traditional Chinese medicine, but they ran out of money before they could get through China. So China has some westernized practices, but they were able to salvage their traditional Chinese teachings. So that's just a little bit of historical background on how our current medical system came about. Because, I had, a friend who was a client who asked me, why is it that no one acknowledges all the alternative types of therapies. And this is the reason why. Anybody want to comment?
Yes, I'd like to comment on this. I think it's fascinating to me how history just repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
The Flexner report, this was over 100 years ago, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the tactics that John D. Rockefeller and his other business partner, Carnegie,
Carnegie. Yeah.
yeah, the tactics that they used to eliminate proprietary schools that were, working with natural medicine, and how they used an outlet, literally the Flexner Report,
Mm-hmm.
to publicize their agenda, and they were the ones supporting the Flexner Report. So it's like these are our studies, and then we're also going to uh, be in control of the actual media that broadcasts it, so you don't have any free journalists that's broadcasting this information, where it's unbiased. This same type of tactic, as you were speaking, I was seeing how the same tactic is used today.
Mm-hmm.
For example, with Billy Boy Gates, Bill Gates,
Yep.
he has uh, his nonprofit, the Bill and Melinda Foundation. They own or have large investments or sponsorships with various media outlets. So they'll do something, and then they will be the first to put out a narrative or some type of counterintelligence to ensure that the narrative that they want is the one that's upheld. So it's just interesting to see how the same tactic, which I'm going to call it what it is, by darkness or the dark agenda, is being has been used over and over again. It's like they don't know anything different other than manipulation and deception.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. They are. It's repeat. History is repeating itself. You're absolutely right. I was going to talk about that coming up as well. So I wanted to delve in. Does anybody have any other comments about this?
In location, veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude.
Honor, respect, and gratitude.
Yeah, I know. I'd heard the same as well, Delilah, about what they did. I know what they did was shut down all the other schools, and then they just gave money. They made sure that all of the schools, starting with, they were religious based too. The religious organizations supported this whole thing, this whole agenda as well. And people don't know that, even with as far as back at the University of Chicago, they don't see it as a religious institution, but it
Mm-hmm.
was founded by the Baptists, you know, at UFC, and along with Rockefeller. I mean, he's had so much there, and Carnegie. They have all of them are deeply embedded into the history of the University of Chicago. And so what they did was they just refused to give money to these people, and they just shut down all the other schools. It's just so,
Egregious.
dastardly. Yes,
Yeah.
dastardly, and and people they don't see the thing, and like Tavares is saying, it is repeating itself, but they don't have the humanism associated with to understand that people are different, that humans can actually do something differently. You know what I mean? So they
Mm-hmm.
just repeat. They're robotic in their behavior, so they respond reflexively, and they just do things that way. So they can't think it through in that kind of way. So I know that was a long way of saying it, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'll say in location veritas first with
And
honor.
Veritas. Well, honor, respect, and gratitude.
So the Hahnemann Medical School in Philadelphia
Mm-hmm.
was one of the, I'll say rediscovered because he was late, but rediscovered homeopathy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
kind of standardized it for the way since he did that. So that medical school in Philadelphia was, that's kind of what the origin of that was. But during COVID, that place got decimated. I don't think they're going to be able to come back. I don't know if anybody's heard any recent news about Hahnemann, but yeah, they closed during COVID. But of course, they, because of the American Medical Association and all the stuff that happened, they basically got rid of, because they were using homeopathy there before, but
Hmm.
1800s, like they stopped, and then especially after um, the report, they stopped using homeopathy.
Did they reintroduce it again afterwards? Or because I know Hahnemann, was one of the developers of, homeopathics. So,
I do not know that they. I know people that trained there, and what I've heard, no, they erased, even though they still had his name associated with the school.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know people who train there, and I never heard them speak on um, homeopathy. But so it basically shut down, and I guess to salvage the institution, they got rid of it. They got rid of all those programs, and that's what was encouraged by John D. I'm gonna just call him John D. You know, so that leads to our discussion. What are the alternatives that are available to us today? We do have homeopathy. You just have to research that: aromatherapy, Reiki, herbology, which Serenia is an expert at. But these alternatives have been used for centuries, and these modalities have saved men's lives for centuries. So if you look at all these modalities, the foundational root for this is energy. Everything is energy. With everything going on in the world today and with our existing westernized medicine, I believe, actually, I know that energy medicine is going to be the way of the future. It's going to be the way for man's survival. Does anybody have any comments? Because I'll move on from there. So I guess I need to give my supporting statements for that. So it's now time for people to have a better understanding in the area and the discipline of energy medicine. We cannot exist without energy. Energy is not just movement, kinetic energy. Energy is also part of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The energy emanating from our bodies is a signaling and a communication that exists between you and me, our bodies, and our interactions. It's also found in man-made electronics, the Wi-Fi, EMFs, is in the sounds of our voices as we listen to each other. If you remember your physics from high school, everything, living or not, are made up of atoms. An atom is then made up by a central nucleus, sometimes referred to as a positron, and an electron circling around the nucleus. And the space in between the two, the space, it generates energy. So everything is energy. So the one commodity that each of us have is our own energy. So what do we do with it? We support it. That is the best thing that we can do for it. Now let's go back to the topic of fear. The existing fear that is supported by mainstream media is an energy that adversely affects us all. And energy is a force that can move men into certain actions and behaviors, good or bad. And fear, what does that do? It moves us into a poor, energetic, low vibrational state. The very industry of marketing is a tool on how we can sway individuals to move in a certain direction. So the type of energies we expose our bodies to, whether it be energies of thoughts, energies from food, energies from our surroundings, will dictate what manifests in our bodies. So does anybody have any comments? Okay, I'll move on. So it's now time to start thinking about what we can do to support our energy. We always talk about nutrition and its importance on every Clubhouse event, but it's not only food in our stomachs, it's also food for thoughts, our thinking. Education is very important, knowledge and knowing our history. The history of suffering continues to repeat itself when we remain ignorant, particularly to what is occurring right in front of us. It's time to wake up and do something different, learning new methodologies rather than repeating the same method, hoping the outcome will change. There is a low probability that anything shifts when you continue on the same path, which has produced no real results, or worse, has made things worse. So changes are inevitable, they're coming. Our current healthcare system cannot sustain itself for much longer. Our economy will not hold for very long. You have to decide what you're going to do. Wait for someone outside of you with the same systems to give you directives that will further marginalize your worth in your existence. They are steadily marginalizing our lives. Artificial intelligence, transhumanism, as we spoke about last week, with the implication that we are broken and that we as humans need to be modified. So let's just take the scientific approach and cut you open or download some information in your brain so that we, the system, as I'm speaking for, can extract, control, and make you a better subject. You are just damaged the way you are based on our standards. It is not that long ago that the existence of slavery and slave trading existed in the United States. Kind of a similar concept. The Holocaust, even, where they just burn incarcerated lives. Not much different from lynching and burning men. And they're still experimenting on people in other countries, following that same German prototype, right? The same German prototype. Am I reading some people's minds? The shot, I'm just going to say that, throw that out there. Does anybody have any comments? So it's time to be open and receptive to new ideas, new techniques that, frankly, are not invasive and harmful to the host, our bodies. My focus is on energy. It is everything and the root cause of everything. It's time to start considering making changes, from the root cause and the source. There are many energetic techniques that several of us here on this Clubhouse event use, not only but use on others, but use on ourselves. And it works. Techniques that we've experienced, learned, and trained throughout the sun, of the sun modalities. Each of us came into this world just like you, exposed to the same circumstances you were exposed to. The difference is that we have tools that actually work and shift and clear those circumstances. Quantum light property clearing. I spoke on it previously, clearing the energetic landscape in your space and environment that cause interferences in your life, mental, emotional, all related and resulting in the physical. It's hard for people to comprehend energy because energy cannot be seen with the naked eye. But then you still have people who believe in the use of Wi-Fi and using their cell phones, and you can't see that form of energy. Soul clearing, soul translation, clearing the energetic debris you drag with you throughout life, wondering why you keep having the same issues, repeating the same pattern of behavior, resulting in the same circumstances that were repeated by your parents, your grandparents. It is a healing of energetic technology, releasing self-contained hidden emotional and mental constructs that hold you back. Pyramid pyrogetics that Donna is doing. Ancestors that Lauren is an expert at now. And freedom release technique. I just had that done. Oh man, was that something? It's like a weight lifted off of me. You know, the pyramid pyrogetics help to give me more clarity. And then there's bioenergetic scanning as advanced soul clearing 3, a tool to identify those distortions in your energy, identifying the root causes, not only looking at emotional mental causations, but also looking at the energy around specific organs that lead to already causing disease. And then there's DNA activation. We've got Tavares here, restoring the original blueprint, reconnecting lost severed strands of DNA that were originally coded with. And every time I get this technique, I feel like a new person. I believe that this is a valuable tool to support our genetic coding, especially after receiving a messenger mRNA therapy that we're being subjected to. Does anybody have any comments or want to share their experiences with these techniques?
Yes, Ilikesh.
And Lakesh.
So I echo the same sentiments that you have about moving into a future that consists of I was about to joke and say, I have a dream that one day we will live in an
That
energetically
dream is
hygienic
coming true,
world.
though. It's coming true. It's coming true.
No, so I have no doubts. I have
Mm-hmm.
clarity that we're moving forward into that. One, I understand that the those are who are quote unquote in power facilitating the dark agenda, they're living off of borrowed time.
Mm-hmm.
They're living off of the unconscious aspects of the collective consciousness that haven't fully awakened. But there are more people every day that I see that are not only open to the idea of energy being a thing, that they exist beyond the physical body, and wanting to step into solutions. And
Mm-hmm.
it's at various levels and degrees. You got people who are just like, I need to burn my Palo Santo and sage because oof, that conversation, I gotta do something about that's stepping into a level of truth that we haven't had before, or acknowledgement of the energetic hygiene and the cleansing of the negative energy, that they have some awareness that it will weigh them down. So I'm seeing this at various levels and degrees. So the truth of this definitely gives me more hope for the future. And specifically when it comes to the idea of fear,
Mm-hmm.
and also how this ties into quantum light property clearing, I have more of a burning fire within me regarding the modality and conveying um, the necessity of clearing environments, just understanding how the field of the home has memory. And I had a client earlier today, and I shared with her, we addressed the fear in your home. And we calculated the percentages, and the fear was off the scale. I mean, well, it wasn't off the scale, but it was pretty high,
Mm-hmm.
the 80 percentile range. And then she starts sharing with me all of these experiences that she has had in her home of her husband's like, lock all the doors, keep the garage door closed. We don't want people looking in. They're living on 10 acres. And she's like, I don't know what anybody would want from us. Why is he so scared? Her daughter is afraid of white unmarked vans. And, she's seen and had uh, these images of fear imprinted in her. But then, of course, we could clearly see how their fear was contagious. And this is a woman who's attempting to step into her power, but is experiencing the gravitational pull of those who are around her.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally look forward to following up with her because we provided her some solutions, things that she could utilize, real time
Mm-hmm.
mental, emotional techniques that are unique to of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But just in generally, she could see the truth of the necessity of her pulling herself back and catching herself when she's allowing their fear to insinuate itself into her experience. That way she can maintain her power because again, it was impacting her health.
Yeah.
So it goes full circle back into what you were your message earlier. Carnegie and Rockefeller, they have been and many others who are in support of this have been attempting to suppress the truth of the human experience. And it's, one can say, the top has been popped, so to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it every day, whether it's just through regular engagement with clients or people online who want this. So I'm with you 100, and it's imperative that we all, those on the line who are in that position, who refer to themselves as a quote unquote healer or practitioner, that we express ourselves, we do not hold back, and we do what we came here to do, which is helping
Right.
other souls be directed to finding their power and moving out of the fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's so real, and thank you for commenting and supporting, providing some supporting arguments, because that fear factor is really significant in our society. It can immobilize a lot of people. It tends to immobilize people.
May I share one more thing about the
Sure.
fear? So I just finished some travels across the country, and I in one of the communications with of a son from our dimensional allies, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of you may have awareness of this idea. They share with us that fear has this type of parasitic behavior. It operates as a parasite, so it attaches to a host, and then it will consume the host without any regard that, hey, I need this life force. I still
Mm-hmm.
need the host to stay alive. But then it's contagious because the host, controlled by the parasite, will try to project fear onto those around it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving the backstory to uh, give the understanding behind this experience I had. So, my travels across the country, I was doing various forms of camping, from glamping to camping in the desert with no tent. And I recall sharing this with family members, my grandmother specifically, and then I could everything that she had to share about the experience was based upon fear. And but what was really noticeable was this idea of enslavement that comes with fear,
Mm.
where you literally just said it. You said fear immobilizes you, and
Mm-hmm.
I associate that it's like tangential with enslavement, where it keeps you locked in as if you don't have options. So where even the things that you may want to do, or you have the desires to move out on, that fear immobilizes you. It keeps you locked in or enslaved, chains and shackles. And as she was speaking with the influence of the fear frequency, all I could feel and see spiritually was her attempting to put chains on me, her attempting to share her parasite, and I was just in awe. Like, well, one, I was like, Grandma, I have to let you go.
I was gonna say.
Because
I was gonna say. I was like,
no, ma'am, I don't play that. Not even with family, not even with my beloved grandmother. Because the enemy will operate through anybody who they can to get to you. Grandma's no exception. Grandma is an agent sometimes, so respectfully. But it's self-preservation out here. I had to politely, Grandmother, I gotta let you go because I'm not gonna let you kill my vibe. I didn't say that, but I'm
right,
just like,
right,
I'll let
right,
you go. And I was
right.
just reflecting, just seeing, just, man, how the fear works, and I and the things that were coming out of her mouth. I'm like, have you ever experienced this? Or is this just stuff that you've heard from the television or from news, or from a source outside of yourself that you have no reference point to? And that's again a lot of what's going on, like the Flexner report.
Mm-hmm.
This is information that's being perpetuated and publicated, that they're putting all the people who are reading it are putting all of their belief and faith in this report, but they have no reference point for this truth, and anything outside of that is omitted. So
Mm-hmm.
this idea of questioning where the source of information is coming from, And of course, is it in fear? Is it false evidence appearing real? So this has changed me in such a way where it has shifted my perception in terms of the complex of, or seeing through the lenses of the complex, freedom or enslavement. Where am I free in this moment, or am I allowing myself to be enslaved? And what's always behind that enslavement is fear. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my story.
Thank you. I agree. I agree. Does anybody have any other comments to share?
Yes, invocation, veritas, sign, respect, and gratitude. I,
And like,
I wanted to just add in what I think is noteworthy is that um, it doesn't even take a lot of people to even initiate that kind of thing, and it doesn't take a lot of people to change it, and because that whole thing about what happened with the Flexner report and the AMA voting on it, it was a very few men who actually did it, who were able to change the history of how Americans were treated, with illness and that kind of thing. There were less than 100 of them who
mm-hmm.
actually did it and voted on it and closed all of the other schools and things like that. And so I think I'm getting the same thing as far as in contrast to that. It doesn't have to take that many people to really believe and to truly initiate change. And I think we are in that position to initiate and to propel change, populace, in the populace, and actually get people to think instead of just follow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. I definitely agree. I've always said and stated that, because in the past, the institutions, organizations, they shut down, like, for instance, alternative therapies when, to immune boosting, other supportive therapies such as ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, and even vitamin C, those things, they stopped. There was a shortage in supply of those things, you know and so I've always had the premise that, they can shut down everything, but they can't shut down your energy. You have control of that. So that's one thing, and that's why I think that we are in a good position in order to be able to help others, because then we can help people with their energy and show them how they can reclaim their power. Excuse me, reclaim their power and their own energy, and utilize their own energy for their benefit, to heal from disease, to maintain themselves.
I'd like to chime in and say that's a good talking point. The idea of reclaiming power, and it, from the clients I interact with, it seems like a lot of people want that.
Mm-hmm.
However, they have gone about it the wrong way. Um, the way in which has been done to them through a type of dominating and controlling from the outside versus the inside out. And
Mm-hmm.
again, teaching them that through, like you've mentioned countless times, practices like whole responsibility, aka Ho'oponopono, taking
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for what's in front of us, calling for right thinking, understanding that what's outside of us is really inside of us, and being able to address the fear within us, and overcoming that, and power comes forth when we're able to step back into, let's call it the control center of our
Mm-hmm.
life, especially through making more sound decisions with our health and our diet. I think you mentioned earlier about, like, I don't know if you said this exactly, but something along the lines of, like, diet is more than just our food. It's the
Yes.
frequencies we engage in, and the conversations we have, the self-talk, all of
Hmm.
these things. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. We've got to reclaim our power. We've got to then move forward. It's going to take a while for people to shift, but people are shifting and realizing that they do have power. We've been trained for so long to have someone think for us rather than think and as rather than thinking for ourselves. So that's why we're here, to help to show people that you have the power for yourself, to dictate what your body does, what you do. Yeah. Do you have any comments, Tavares? Any other comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Build on what Serenia was saying about it doesn't take a lot of people. Um,
No, it
and,
doesn't.
you
Yeah.
know, I'm speaking from the sciencey part of it. If anyone on the line, I know some of you may be familiar with morphic fields,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the idea of critical mass, and where there's a number of individuals on the planet that does a thing, and then next thing you know, um, they create a field of energy that then becomes available to others in proximity, and that information is available throughout the consciousness of the collective that can be reached
Mm-hmm.
upon. This phenomenon has been observed and also measured in various life forms, even outside of human, like various animal species, where new behavior can be learned, and only starting from a small group, but becoming available to the larger group or species. So I'm with Serenia when she said, "It don't take a lot." I think it's just more so about being committed to the lifestyle and staying within our truth, unwavering. That gives the field enough power and momentum to build up, where people out there on the fence who might be tinkering with their crystals and their sage may want more,
Right.
may want to go deeper, or people who know that they're having toxic experiences, but you know not really knowing what to do some way, somehow. We can't always quantify things, but the universe is very fascinating in such a way where if you have the desire to move out of your circumstance, you'll somehow be aligned with the necessary solutions or resources to do it. you know and I,
Absolutely.
and I
Ah,
feel that us, and and I say this respectfully to all of us, whether it's coming directly from the individuals on the line or of the sun in Lakesh or not. It's just the idea of creating a new world where there is an alternative. So we can build that field up.
mhm. Thank you for sharing that, Serenia.
I,
And
I wanted to add one more thing to what Tavares was saying and what you were saying, Delilah, as well, is that, and the Lord tells us this all the time as well. When the light is stronger than the darkness, right? So when it's dark outside and the sun comes up, the darkness goes away, right? And so
Yeah.
we stand in the light, stand in the truth, and stand for truth and stand for light. Then the darkness will have to leave. It doesn't have a choice. It's not going. We're not going to ask it. You want to leave? It's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Stephanie.
in the Cashin Veritas. So I wanted to share a quick story, and this is kind of like on the piggyback of what Tavares was speaking about the morphic field. I sent the evolutionary practices from the Of the Sun website to my son, my oldest son, and he lives with his girlfriend, and he shared the evolutionary practices with her, and she wasn't, doing them. But he was watching the most live podcast that Laota and Tavares did. And his girlfriend came in from work and she sat down and, she was doing stuff, but she was listening to the podcast at the same time that he was. And, he wasn't really paying attention that she was listening. However, after the podcast, he was looking for her in the house, and he went to the bathroom and she was in the bathroom and she was sitting in there with her phone and the evolutionary practices and she was doing them. And so I said, well, that podcast lit some fire,
Mm-hmm.
up under her. And she was like, I need to get on the job, what I'm here for. So that morphic field, is just so powerful. And when we speak of it, we don't think of the actual impact that it has. But just not trying to drive anything into anybody or force your opinions on anybody. You just being that example in that morphic field, it transforms so many things, and around you, the people, the environment, everything is just powerful.
Yeah, it attracts. It'll be an attraction for others to follow. And you're right, being that example. Thank you for sharing that story. That was very helpful. You know, so I would like to, add that I'd like for everyone to do some homework before we get off. I'd like for everyone to analyze and see where they are. Are they in a good place? Are you content with what you're doing? Are you where you expected to be? And then ask yourself, where would you like to be? What is it that you like to do? And then ask, what are the things that I can do to assist me in shifting my direction to where I want to be? Are there things that I can have done before? That things that I've done before, and did that work? Or do I need to change it and do something different? And this is something that I want to continue next week. This conversation was actually very enlightened, and I think that people need to hear more and share their stories so that other people can learn and benefit from them. Tavares, are you?
Yes, Dr. Delilah, I really like what you just shared because I like investigating, and this is self-exploratory investigation. And this, I feel like this is an invitation to go or to step deeper into power and navigating into the reality that we want, right? Like taking
Mhm.
control of the ship. Could you repeat these questions again? I thought they were really good, very powerful, insightful questions to ask oneself.
Okay, so look at your life and see where you are at this time. Are you in a good place? Are you content? Are you where you expected to be? Then ask yourself, where would you like to be? What is it that you would like to do? Then, thirdly, ask, what are the things I could do to assist me in shifting my direction to where I want to be? Are these things that I have done before? Did they work to help me to shift? You have to look and see, are you doing things that'll help you to shift? If you're still in that same place, you've got to look and see, did they truly work? Or do you need to think differently? Think about doing something differently. So these are just some questions that you can do on your own, answer, and then we can revisit them next week, and explore and share our experiences.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh yes, definitely. And this is recorded also too, so everyone can go to and listen to the recording. So before we sign off, I'd like to invite everyone to our monthly retreat that's coming up on Saturday evening, May 14th, 6:30 to 8:30, 5:30, 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 to 7:30 Central Time, for only 2 hours. And you'll be able to experience all these multiple modalities we've spoken about: soul translation, meditations, herbal recommendations, bioenergetic scanning. We'll also be able to experience the call for the Truth Divination card reading, which we have been having workshops ongoing over the past several weeks. And you can find more information on our websites, the website, enlikerstudio2.com. And then I also would like to invite everyone to our whole responsibility meditation sessions that's hosted by Enliker Studios. And it's given on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for only 30 minutes. And just join in, tapping into that power of the Ho'oponopono, powerful technique of forgiveness and reconciliation, that will assist in shifting the trajectory of your life circumstances into something that's greater. All right. Anybody else have any questions before we sign off?
Yes, in Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude, Dr. Delilah.
And like Kitchen Veritas, and respecting gratitude.
So, how would one go about joining the group Ho'oponopono?
Um, so I am sending out flyers, but you can also go onto the YouTube channel or go into the website enlakeshstudio2.com, and on there there's a link that you can sign on. It's completely free, and you can get the link in order to sign on.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, everyone. Thank you for joining this session, a Clubhouse session. Look forward to seeing you next week with honor, respect, and gratitude, and Lakesh and Veritas.
In Lakesh and Veritas, honor, respect, and
Honor,
gratitude.
respect, and gratitude. Thank you.